Oke, halo semua. Selamat datang ke episode minggu ini di Switching Sides. Minggu ini bersama saya, RRQ Jomengz. Unfortunately, Alex sama Frudy nggak bisa ikut. Mereka sedikit sibuk. Tapi untuk minggu ini kita ada special guest adalah Assistant Coach Team RRQ, YB. Hey YB, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. What's up?
I'm pretty good too. Can you give us because you not really in the limelight as much, but all the work that you do behind is still equally as important. But can you please give us like an introduction of yourself? You know where you are,
Yes.
who you are, and where you came from. I think a lot of people would like to know.
Hey, so my in-game name is YB, also known as Lucas. I'm from Germany, and I'm the assistant coach or analyst for Team RRQ. I've been coaching previously in different teams, like in Valorant and Enigma. And before I've been a CS player and CS coach mostly.
So how long have you been coaching?
Yeah, I've been coaching for I'd say 3 years, and before that I've been mostly being the IGL of teams, the team captain.
Oh wow, nice. And how long was your professional career as a CS player?
Professional career, I have to think. maybe 6 years, like as a full-time player. Yeah.
Wow,
Or including coach. Yeah.
Did you mostly compete in Europe, on teams in Europe, or?
Actually, I mostly competed in Asia. In
In
Europe,
Asia?
I've been mostly just semi-professional. Like I've been competing a lot, but just for fun. Semi-professional, but in Asia or also India mostly was my professional time.
Nice. Okay. So could you tell us the story of, kind of how you joined RRQ?
Yeah, so I think I switched to Valorant now 2 years ago, and I started in India in Enigma Gaming. And then after 1 year, I decided I don't want to the team decided to disband or move separate ways. So I was looking for a new opportunity. And just at that moment, we were playing our last event in India, the HyperX GXR LAN, where also RRQ was there. And at the same time, they were looking for a new assistant coach. So Ewok told me, okay, I can apply. Like there's a place to apply, so I applied there also, and then that's basically how I got in contact. Yeah, and then eventually, I joined RQ.
Oh, nice. So it's very good good timing, I guess, right? Because RRQ was there for the LAN, basically our first LAN tournament where the team came together. Yeah.
So I was lucky also to meet the guys there already and to get an idea of the team. That's interesting.
Of how they are and everything. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
So, what led you to become, a coach, moving from, your professional, CSGO days?
Yeah, so back then, I was never the player, like the entry frag or anything. Ever since the first time I started playing, I was a team captain. Like I was more interested in playing together as a team. I never even cared about playing solo ranked games or anything. I think I barely played any solo ranked games in my whole career. I mostly always played together with 5 players, with friends, build teams. Was more interested in the strategic part, doing strategies, team chemistry, and all those things. And it also led to me as a player. I wasn't very skilled, but I had a lot of idea. Mid-round calling was very good. But then I thought okay, actually if I can be a coach, the team can do much better, because as a player I'm not that strong. But if I can make the team do the same thing, even though I'm not playing, I think this team can be really strong. So anyway, I'm more interested in the coaching, everything a coach does. So eventually I stepped down as a player and became a coach. So I can do everything I still enjoy. Yeah, and look at the player development and those kind of things, and strategies, and the whole game structure, like the play style and everything. It's more interesting for me.
Growing up, were you more into like what other like games did you play? Like thinking games, like chess, or or even in like in sports, did you play on a football team, or a team sports? Is that?
I mean, when I was young, I started playing football, like soccer. I mean, it's quite common in Germany. But then I tried many different sports also. But then I ever since I get into gaming, it was more interesting. That was for me like the new team sports. So it was never for me like, okay, I'm playing solo games. It was actually always a team. Like ever since I started playing, we have weekly team practice. That's common for me.
Yeah.
And I was always like, okay, when is the next practice? I wanted to practice much more than everybody else. And everybody got annoyed, or I don't want to practice. But I was just the guy, okay, you have to practice more, come on.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed actually, as you said, more like the thinking games. I really enjoy when I play games nowadays. If it's not competitive, it's more like any puzzle games. I really like puzzle games, logic games, and I also played a lot of chess in the past. So, those kind of games.
That's cool.
I enjoy.
That's cool. Yeah. So I mean, we know that getting into the IGL role is never an easy thing, right? A lot of players kind of shy away from it, or not even, they can't, so like much like a Flip's story, at the end of the day, he was kind of pushed into it, right? So it's really cool to know somebody that's like, okay, from day one, I want to be the IGL, and really push the whole team forward. Moving forward, what's your relationship like with Coach Ewok? Like, how do you collaborate, strategies and ideas with him?
Yeah, so I think it's not an easy task to do, because like there's many opinions, right? So right now I'm focusing more on the not so like more separate parts. Like I give ideas, but I don't really like try to push my idea too much. It's more like giving ideas what I think of, and giving insights from my side basically. And mostly right now it's more an analysis part. Like I'm not
Can you describe,
too much involved in the strategy right now. I'm more like, I mean, right now doing the league, I'm more focusing on the enemy teams than our own team right now. So yeah, in the preparation phase it was more different. The preparation phase where I prepared more, I was looking more in the team as well. But now my focus is on the enemy teams usually.
Can you give us like a couple points on, what you look out for in other teams,
Yeah, so I mean in general when I look at a team, I try to get an overall idea how the team is functioning. Like even I would like to know what is their calling, because to know how a team functions I need to understand also a little bit who's the IGL, how many people are involved in calling, so I know how consistent is the team and doing the decisions. But I just look maybe sometimes just at the raw data and then understand, okay, how many times will they hit this area and that area. So looking at a big macro perspective mostly, and then I can go more into details if there's anything more detailed, which is a pattern or anything. And it's always important to know the weak points, of course. Like if there's any weak points, and it can be any different kind of weak points. Like it can be from individual to the whole play style. So yeah. So it's basically to challenge every team to find out, okay, this team, where's the weak point, and how does it work? How does it function? And do we focus on our game more or on the enemy team more? Like, those kind of things.
Where do you find those raw data? Do you rewatch the streams again, or just look at VLR.gg for example, and like just see their stats?
Hey, there's multiple. Like I try to get as much data as possible, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, looking at the streams is really useful, but there's also analysis tools we're using right now, which helps us to get the data, and also even VLR looking at the statistics, everything. So yeah, there's trying to get different perspectives from different sources.
I see. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm a really big fantasy player, so I look at a lot of like just the points, statistics. I think that's really fun. So, what role do you think team culture and morale play in a team success? How do you think you can, with your role, kind of foster a positive team environment?
First of all, I have to say though, a good team culture will never outdo skill. Like you can have the best team culture, but if you're lacking skill, you cannot win anyway. Like you have to have the skill, of course, as well. And with the skill, team culture will give you maybe 20% more or something. Like it's really important, but it cannot outdo skill, right? Like it's really important to know also. But you have the team culture as well to the skill. It's basically what makes the best team in the end. So, because a good team culture, what will it do is, when you are not leading, if things go wrong, you still play good, basically. That's what the consequence is. So, a good team culture, in the end, will make you more consistent. Right. So, because even if you start bad, you can bounce back anytime because you're mentally strong or whatever, you trust your teammates. And therefore, you can always, whatever the scoreline is, you can push through to the win. And that gives you an insane consistency if you have a really good mentality in the team. So that's why I think it's really important. If your team culture is not so good, then what happens is player might underperform, don't play to the maximum, or also, and when you have a bad start in the game, you are not able to come back into the game. If you're maybe fighting with your teammates or even don't trust your teammates, that can be a big problem. So if you are the team which keeps winning, you have to have a good team culture as well, basically. And I think in our level now, in the Pacific League, for example, I think one of the biggest points, like when the skill is very dense, like it's very close to each other, the team culture makes often the difference of the winning team or losing team.
Yeah, that's super interesting fact. I think, like, taking our boys as an example, at the beginning, we were just creating that team culture amongst each other, right? Yeah. That communication barrier, as people were talking about, of course, at the beginning there was that sort of a barrier, but towards the end, I don't think communication. I mean, we had a chat with Mimor, we had a chat with all the boys. Iman, they say that communication is no longer an issue anymore, right? Now it's just we have to be able to execute on our game plan, and they were able to kind of. I think you guys went to Seoul Tower yesterday, and maybe the previous week to a amusement park. So
yes.
How do you feel that building those relationships outside of the game? Like, how important do you think it is to building a good team culture?
Yeah, I think it's like essential to do that, right? Because you have to trust your teammates, basically. Not only in-game, but also out-game. Like the better you know them, the more friends we are, the more likely it is you can have that bonding, the trust between each other. And so basically going with these activities and also experiencing things which is not only in-game can be really useful to get that bond.
Yeah. So what do you think about, like, on the opposite side, if there were some sort of conflicts or disagreements, how would you handle that amongst the team?
Yeah, so first of all, like, often we think conflicts and disagreements are something bad, but it's important for a healthy relationship also, like for any person, right? Because it's setting boundaries and everything, right? And you have to show, and then basically you need to sort out the conflict, right? So the thing is, after the conflict, more often the bonding is even stronger. Like if you settle something out and you get to the next point, it can be really helpful. So I don't say like, okay, don't have any conflicts. I think it can be good if it's not happening all the time, of course, right? And then once you settle a thing, usually that is a point where the bonding is even stronger. So yeah. I wouldn't say don't have any conflicts. That's not how it works, because you have different opinions and everything. It keeps happening, so you have to sort it out together, like in a proper way, like not in shouting or whatever, like communication, and then you can maybe, I think it's good to sort things out and talk about it, than just avoiding, because if you
the
avoid
conflict
it, will
overall,
never, if you avoid it, then it's the opposite of bonding, right? So you want to talk and figure out the issue and solve it.
Nice. So now moving on, like just like to know, like what are your thoughts on the team's performance so far this season? You know, now that we're moving into basically the last 2 matches, right, in Super Week, you know, how have you personally rated our team's performance?
Yeah, so I think even going into the event, it was hard for us to know how good are we compared to the other teams. I mean, we could know in scrim results already how good we are a little bit. But as already said, like, it really matters what happens in the match, right? And there comes more like some things like mentality and everything goes into the match much more. And now looking into the whole span of the career, like of the season, we look like a really solid team, right? So in the beginning you could already tell, maybe this is how we will perform. But then we started off really bad. I was like, oh, what's happening? And then we weren't sure, can we really get it practice performance into matches? It was like a little bit concerning maybe. But then now you can see much better, our performances become much better. Even the recent games against CRX was a really good game by the team.
Yeah, very good.
And also some other games looks really good. And right now I think we're doing really good, and if we could keep that consistency, I think we are top 6 of the teams for sure. Now how good we are in the end, we can not say right now, but right now it considers as a top 6 team, like which deserves to go playoffs. But we don't know, maybe the next game again we're going to struggle because our consistency is still not perfect, but it became better. But I have to say also the next 2 games are going to be really hard because it's 2 stronger teams, but we can beat them, both of them. But we have to play our good game. That's the thing. So I'm really excited for that. And
you mentioned consistency a few times. Like, how can a team improve, or even on a player basis, how can you improve on the consistency? Maybe you can provide like a few.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, you're not always the same level, right? It doesn't go like, okay, you're always on this level. You have fluctuations. And it's daily and even rounds. Some rounds you're doing good and some rounds you're doing bad. And the thing is, now you have one bad round and you think, oh no, and you start overthinking. Then you have an issue because you keep playing bad because it kind of snowballs. But if you just accept what happened, then basically you're able to move on and reset just after one bad round. Then you can get consistency because the next round you can again play good or bad. But the big issue is most people have is they have one bad round, they stay on bottom because they're always thinking, oh no, something is happening, or they start tilting. You start tilting, it's over basically. You keep playing bad. So basically if you have the mentality to reset, you accept what happened. Maybe you also learn from the moment, you're like, okay, is it relevant for the next round? And then you have to move on. And if you can do it really good, you're consistent basically. And it's also as a team. So let's say your teammate makes a big mistake in the round. How do you deal with it? Do you be like, what are you doing? When you do like this, you basically playing much worse suddenly because you're thinking about a teammate and you imagine how many things you have to think as a player. You're entering the side, you have to think, okay, he's here, you have to look at the crosshair, you have to think about the utility, and you're thinking, what is my teammate doing? Like, or you're talking to him, what are you doing? Then you start 100%, you play worse than you could, like in the end. But if you're now, instead of saying, what are you doing? You're like, okay, he made this mistake, now what do I have to do to still win the round? If you think like this, you can win the round whatever it happens, basically, and you're a really consistent player because a mistake doesn't throw you off the round. You can still convert the round, basically. It's like having a safety net. Because sometimes I really often see one mistake is happening, the whole round is gone already. But if one mistake is happening and the player can still secure the round regardless, then that's really good. So basically you have to be able to, if a mistake is happening, you have to accept it, and think about a new situation and how do you win the situation, and then you can be more consistent. I think the mentality part of doing this is one of the most important parts.
Yeah.
And it goes for a ranked player or a team player or anything.
Yeah. Or even like, players starting out in gold like myself,
yes.
or plat, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's this fundamental, what you mentioned is so interesting. Fundamental mentality of how to approach the game, and thinking
yes.
positively, right, and not negatively. That can just really switch a player's perspective during the mid round, or before game or after game, which
exactly.
is just so important. Yeah, that was amazing. So what we had our talking about consistency, we were really bad, really good, and then we kind of lost. With T1, I thought we had a good chance of winning, but didn't do so well. So what do you think were some of the keys to the success of winning matches during the matches that we won?
Yeah, so for example, right now I said we have to able to, when we play bad, we have to accept it and able to move on regardless. That's exactly what happened in global esports match. We started off really bad like this, but we didn't care. Like actually, Flipside was saying, "Hey guys, we win this game. I don't care. We're gonna win this game." And he was like, he didn't care. We played like this. He knew we are here, but we know we can bounce back in the rounds again.
Yeah.
And this happened.
Yeah.
And against T1, it was, for example, different. We started here, and everybody's like, "Oh no, we are here," and then we go like this all the way.
Right.
So that's how it plays into the game as well, and we have more confidence. We know we can bounce back and everything. So in the beginning of the games, we're not able to have this thought process as good as we can do it now.
Yeah.
And there's also a little bit of trust in our own abilities and the teammate abilities, I would say, which makes it easy for you if you know, okay, hey, I'm just better. It's easy for you to bounce back into the game.
Yeah.
If you think like this, also it can be a dangerous thought, but yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
it's a fine balance.
Yeah, it is a fine balance. But that's really cool to know that saying that, for the team, really help team morale, really help, just setting that positive mindset that, hey, you know what, next round, I'm definitely gonna take his head off, and we saw, how Elmi Moore pretty much did, basically your gun rounds, right? Your eco rounds are actually your gun rounds too, right? So you guys did so well against GE, in Pearl and in Fracture as well. So that was really good. Super Week is coming up, as I mentioned. How are you guys feeling about it?
I think it's really exciting for us because everything is on this kind of last week.
Yeah.
It's if you're going to playoffs or not, and I think it's for many teams like that.
Yeah.
That makes it really interesting.
Yeah.
Also, it's hard matches for us, but at the same time, it feels like now we are on a good road. So it feels like we are much better now than in the beginning. And I think the same goes for PepperX and Talon. I think all of the teams had a slump in the beginning, and all three of us now are having our height in the end of the season. So that's why it's so exciting for us at the games. Yeah. And if you play bad, or even we play good, we can still lose because the other teams are also really good teams. So that's the interesting part. We have to see. Just focus on our A game, and make sure we play our best game, and then we can just hope it's enough. There's nothing else you can do. And I think if you play our A game, there's nothing much we can. No reason to be sad about.
Yeah.
And that's
basically you've given everything on the line, right? And in the game and into the server. You personally, who do you think is going to be the harder opponent?
It's hard to say. I think it's PepperX, but not much. It's a similar level, and I don't think it's like an unbeatable level. I think we can do it.
Yeah,
so,
I think so too. Honestly, I tell the boys that we interviewed previously, we going to each week, even to DRX, for me, I have confidence in the team. I feel like every week we have that chance to to win, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it showed with DRX, you know, it showed with Global, you know, we can really just go in and we play our game and we can win, you know. I think so. That's why I feel like we really are, you know, one of the underdogs, right? In Pacific. People thought we were gonna get steamrolled against DRX, but no, we put up like such a great fight, you know. And I think it was such a good match, except for the third map. But the first and second, we did all right. Maybe your experiences in previous teams. Let's say if a player was struggling with their consistency, they're struggling with motivation or to play or confidence, right? How can you help them, you know, snap out of that funk? Is it, or do they have to really do it personally, that they have to do it by themselves, or is there a role that a coach, assistant coach like yourself, you know, can help, you know, them move forward?
I think it can always help. I mean, there's all a little bit different points, but they're close to each other. So let's take confidence, for example, right? I mean, a good player, if he can fix his own confidence, it's amazing, but a coach can always help, of course. So confidence is, and also an interesting aspect. So we always think, oh, confidence is something really good and we have to have it, right? But again, it's a balance. Like if you're overconfident, it's not good. If you're under too less confidence, it's bad. Because if you just have confidence and you keep peaking, but you keep just dying, right? Then it's bad also. So you have to have a right balance. But usually, I think you're mostly confident if you're prepared. Like if you think about it, if you go into the game and you know what's going to what you can expect, what's going to happen, then you'll be confident because you know, okay, all this can happen. But if you're not prepared, then it's bad because you don't know what can happen and whatsoever. So basically, I think is what you have to do is, like, to build confidence is to practice smart and hard. Like if you prepare yourself good, if you practice on your aiming, that will lead to confidence. It's not like you just have to focus, okay, I have to build my confidence now. If you work on your aiming and you know, okay, because I always put all this hard work and I can see my progress, that will give you confidence as well. Like confidence is really closely related to your work, actually. It's like, imagine you're going to a presentation, right? And you didn't prepare anything.
Yeah.
You won't be confident unless you have a natural ability to hold freestyle presentations. But that most likely you practice over a long time as well. Like you have done it before many times. That's why you have the confidence. So basically it's a long-term build confidence. Or you work out your presentation really well. You're more likely to be confident because you know, okay. And the more you work on it, the more confidence you build. So it's not like we have to think, okay, how do I get confident in my head? Do the work and you'll be more likely more confident. Of course, but there's also a mental aspect to it.
Yeah. Like
you should be realistic with your goals. Like if you find a good level of goal, you're more likely to be confident. If your goal is too high, then you will realize probably really soon, okay, I cannot make it, and that will crush your confidence. But if you have a reasonable goal, you're more likely to feel a confidence because you know, okay, I can make it. And you go step by step, and it's really nice to have that experience.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is some ways to think about it.
Yeah.
Because imagine I'm telling a player, okay, just be confident, right? But he doesn't have the skill yet. What's going to happen? He's like, okay, now I just go peek everything, and then he just keeps dying, and then he's even less confident. But the thing is, you have to just, if I tell him, okay, this is how you improve, and then he'll be like, oh, and then he's better, and then he's confident, basically.
Yeah.
But there's exceptions also, some players who are actually really good and they lack confidence. Then it's just like giving them the, okay, you can do it, and this is enough for some players because they have the skill set, but they don't have the mentality.
Right.
So it depends on each individual. You can't just say, just be more confident.
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, just let me try and fly somewhere, you know. This is like bullshit as well. Yeah. What are your personal goals during this VCT, and participating? Do you have any personal goals?
I like to think of goals more like myself progressing than having fixed goals right now. Like, okay, I want to be winning everything. Right now, I just have to think, okay, I'm just learning new skills, and that will, in the end, lead me to, I think, being better, hopefully. But I don't have this, okay, I want to win right now or anything. I think it's useful to have the goal like this as well, but right now it's more like on progression for me.
So what's your progression? Like, what are you working on now as an individual? To be able to read the IGL or lip reading?
I'm figuring right now, in this moment right now, I'm figuring right now and trying to research. Right now I don't have that very specific goal.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I need to again find more better direction.
How do you look for other players when you look for a new, you want a new player to come in? How do you look at those players? How do you search for them, or is it purely based on statistics? How do you find those what kind of traits do you look for?
So from my experience, it might sound harsh.
Yeah.
But I believe in statistics, and I only believe in statistics of official matches. Because if I know a player can play good at matches, it's very different if you can play good in practice. So you do tryouts and everything, right? You do tryouts for a month. You take the player, but you realize you're always playing bad at matches. It's rough. You can work on that and everything, but again, it's not so easy. So usually what I like to do is I like to see statistics of players in matches, and in my whole career at least, and this is what I look at players for. But the thing here is, it is the mentality when I was IGL. Because only what I needed is a player who can shoot. And then I can tell him, okay, you do this, and then I'll tell him where to go mid-round, and okay, you get your frags here.
Yeah.
But now when I have to get an IGL, I don't know yet still myself how to get a good IGL. Because I never had to find an IGL before.
Yeah.
And now it's more complicated. I have to learn what to look out for an IGL, how to find the right IGL and everything. I know how to find the perfect fragger, but I don't know how to find the perfect IGL or support player.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm not sure yet myself, which I'm trying to figure out what is the key points. But usually, what I believe is really important is the ability in the matches, like how can they play. And also mentality is of course really important. And also when they play in the past team, right, I need to a little bit understand what was the role of the player, right? Like, was he a key role, and what kind of communication is really important as well, right? But for me, communication is one of the things I can teach really well, so I don't mind too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but important for me is a player who because it's also a broad question, because I'm looking for a player in what role. Each role needs different requirements.
That's right.
And I want a player with a key requirement in the specific role. Let's say I want a fragger. I want the most cracked aiming. Everything else I can teach him, but I cannot teach him the talent for aiming. If an IGL, most likely I want the player who can think fast and has a natural tendency to understand scenarios.
Yeah.
Right. So each, and then you can maybe teach the mentality or something. I mean, you can fix some points, but there are some points which have to be outstanding. In each role.
In the the requirements that you need, right? Like cracked aiming or whatever, like entry fragger.
Yeah, I don't expect a duelist, for example, to have insane communication. It's fine. That's the other players maybe have to compensate, or I can teach him to improve in that aspect more. I mean, if you have a player with everything insane, well, of course, it's awesome.
This is like a superstar.
Those players are usually already superstar players in top teams.
Yeah, exactly. How do you build chemistry between yourself as a coach with the players? Because sometimes, maybe the players view you as a look, this is coach, maybe I do have to follow whatever he says or not, right? But how do you build that relationship amongst, the managing staff or coaching staff and the players?
I think it's important to spend time with people, like get to know each other also outside the game. I think it's really important. Like it's not just player and coach. It has to be more. It has to be like you have to get to know each other. You have to spend time together. Like even going for the trips we did yesterday to the Seoul Tower.
Yeah.
And just spend time with the people and talk to them. I think it's really important, and then get to know them better. And what is everybody's just human, right? It's not just a coach and player. There's something behind it as well.
Okay. All right. I think we can wrap up. Thank you so much for your time, Coach YB. You've provided like a lot of great insights, and I think maybe not just for players, but maybe managers and others that they can later listen to this this segment of Switching Sides. So good luck for this upcoming week against Talon and PRX. We'll be rooting for you in Jakarta, and we'll be having our watch parties. So for the others, for everybody, thank you so much for let me say it in bahasa. Terima kasih banyak untuk ikutin episode ini untuk Switching Sides. Terima kasih ke Mr. Coach YB. Thank you YB for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
So see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.